Hi everyone! I'm going to do a continuation today of blobby faces, but instead do sort of a more refined, less sort of comical blobby figures. So in preparation for this, I have a large piece of watercolour paper. Now, I've used this before in the videos to do the flower tutorial, and I did say that with watercolour paper it is worth getting some decent stuff, but don't fear too much if it's not really um, decent, as long as it's sort of thick enough to take a lot of water, because what you want is, what we're aiming for is a really light wash, which requires, obviously if you've got straight watercolour, it requires a lot of water. So I have basically mixed up, I've used red, yellow ochre and raw umber and a bit of blue, and just mixed up a wash, and I've added more blue each time or more red each time, and just changed the tone of it, and washed just a random shape, a bit like what we did with the blobby faces. Just got the paintbrush and did a really random shape and just let the kind of paint bleed out where I wanted to go, and then left it to dry. Now, off the back of this, I'm going to use a pen, a black pen. I'm going to use a Posca pen, but you can use any black pen, fine liner. Don't be inclined to use a pencil, because you really want to, because then you'll start rubbing it out and you won't get. This is all about suggestive marks. The shape of the way that the paint naturally kind of happens when it goes onto the paper will inform what position you kind of suggest with, say, just like a line of an arm, or the curve of the neck and the shoulder, and you can really make it up. You can just do it from your imagination, which is nice. You don't have to have figures in front of you. I have got some of these, which I've used loads of times before, just maybe, but I might not even use them. So what I've got, you can see, is some watercolour washes, different shapes. So I can already see this one is weirdly like a figure somehow. So I'm going to start with that one, and that one there is also really kind of nice. And I'll do an example of the wash thing first, if you can see far away. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm cutting off my head now. This again. There you go. Right, so I'm going to get lots of water. I've got the tubes of watercolour here, or a little palette here, which I have because I haven't got any blue tubes, so I'm just using a mixture really. So I'm going to rehydrate what I was using before, and just add a little bit of more brown to that. And these don't have to be realistic flesh tones. They can be weird, like we did last time. They can be blues or greens or pinks or reds, but try and aim for getting them as thin and watery as possible, not solid. And to do that, you need to add on your palette, just add tons and tons of water. So I've got a nice sort of brown colour there. So I'm going to go with my paintbrush. Then this isn't a very good paintbrush, but we'll just see what happens. I'm just going to put a sort of blob of it on the paper. In fact, this paintbrush is terrible. And then just use the water then, because I've already got the colour, the pigments there, and use the water to sort of push out the paint. This won't dry in time. I could use the hairdryer, but I'm just going to do a shape like that. And this can just, the shapes can be anything. They can be as weird as you want, because you'll be surprised. You'll get when you kind of look at them afterwards, you'll think, oh, that looks a bit like an arm, or that looks like a leg, or a torso, or even a face. You can feel free to do faces. So there's my sort of blobby shape there. Can't really tip it because it will bleed, but there we go. So what I would do now is obviously wait for that to dry. I do lots of them. Fill the page with blobs first. Don't be inclined to do blob, then drawing, then blob, then drawing, because the whole idea is that you're using almost like a kind of, it's almost like a wallpaper of shapes that you can then sort of go, and the more you get into it, the more the next one might be slightly more, work more effectively or something, I don't know. And I'm going to do this one up here that already kind of looks like something. So all I'm going to do is get my Posca pen, and this is good because you can alternate the thickness of it and things, and it's quite a nice texture. And I'm going to go in with my Posca pen and just draw in some very small suggestive lines, because there's already shapes there, you see, that we've got. So I'm going to draw in some colour. This can be from your imagination, or it can be from life, really, however you want it to be. And this pen is much too black, I think. I'm inclined to say no, but oh well. And the good thing about this, you really don't have to draw in all of the lines. I'm just smudging this all over the place now. You just want to draw in some of them. And it's suggestive mark making, really, so it's kind of just to say. And you'll kind of know when to leave it if you're happy with it. I'm just going to leave that. It's got a lady there. Weird. Kind of nice. I'm not really getting into it yet, so they will improve as you go along. I might have a look here, put some inspiration. Just figure out body shapes. We'll do that one. So that one looks like a back to me, this one here, at the bottom, so I'm going to, this one here, sorry. So that one there, sort of like and I'm just going to try and do like really minimal lines. So, I'm not a fan of this Posca pen. You can just draw in. And you don't have to do the figure if you don't want to. You can do anything. You can do animals. You could do like animal drawings. You could do objects. You could do. I mean, it's just generally. It's the idea is to take a kind of abstract shape and look at it and make it into a form, or just give it lines that suggest something. These Posca pens do actually bleed quite nicely, so I'm going to experiment with that as well. Just adding a tiny bit of water to the line. Oops. Some tissue. My shape I just did is dripping everywhere. So I'm going to go with that one. It's a sort of weird. And that one's sort of run into that one, but I quite like that. And so I'm going to leave that. So it doesn't look like a figure, but I really like the way that that's just become something else. That's that one there. It's just become a sort of strange, shape, and it's just really sort of beautiful. And I mean, I just did that one, but I really don't like that. That's horrible. Blech. So that's why you need a whole sheet of them, so you can really play around with getting the kind of minimal. I think the fewer lines, the better. Really, as soon as you start trying to make all the lines meet and make it into a thing, it just looks really, really odd. So I think I'll go with that approach more. Just kind of really just a few lines. Try another one. So, shoulder, leg, oops. Not really, I mean, again, that's just simple, but quite effective. Is that a foot? Yeah. Yeah, so the simpler I'm getting a little messy. The simpler the better. So that one's just a really simple sitting one, and it's just sort of suggestive. And the good thing about doing, I mean, you can do this without the blobs. Obviously, then that's just drawing figures. But that's something about the blobs and the natural shape and the organic shape that's just appeared that inspires you to. That you'll, well, if you've done the blobby facey thing, will sort of inspire you to really think about the form and how that might, because something in your brain will go, well, that looks like that, and that could be the arm, and it could just go from there and take that shape. And so it's a nice way to sort of, if you're scared of drawing figures and things, then it's a nice way to get out of that fear. I know it's all I ever talk about, it seems. Figures. So I'm going to try one of these crazy guys here now. So which one shall I try? And these make really nice, if you were to have some card or something, you could make a really lovely card for somebody this way, because it's kind of simple but visually quite effective. See, already I've gone too far with that one. It's ridiculous and it's horrible. So it really does pay off just to do a few lines. Now this this one I was going to do, but it's still wet, so I can't do that. But yeah, the ones that work the better are, see that one just is really awful, so don't judge me, but the ones that work the better are these ones here, the simpler ones, like this one here is really sort of getting the idea of that simplicity of, and then that one is not, because I've just gone round it too much and it just looks contrived and weird. So yeah, simpler the better. And use as long as you use a wash of watercolour, then you should be fine. Have a go. And sorry it's a bit short, but it's a nice one, so just have a little go. All you need is watercolours and watercolour paper and a pen. Okay, bye!